Hey guys, so I am one of those people that browses the internet with JavaScript turned off by default, and I run a whitelist of websites which I have personally approved, which require JavaScript to run, so I've approved them through an add-on for my browser, which is called uMatrix, although there are similar browser add-ons available that do similar things. The one called NoScript for Firefox immediately springs to mind. And I've been doing this for a few years now, and today I want to talk about why I do it, why I'm considered changing my habit, and also what your guys' thoughts are on it as well. So feel free to talk about this down in the comments section below. I'll make sure to read all the comments that come in, and let me know whether or not you browse the internet with JavaScript turned off, and whether or not you'll ever consider it. If so, why so, and if not, why not. So I asked on Twitter. Whether or not you guys browse the internet with JavaScript turned off by default. And 76% of you says no. So 76% of you said that you're browsing the internet with full JavaScript enabled. And then, of course, 24% of you said yes, you did run an add-on like NoScript or uMatrix that allowed you to stop JavaScript or prevent JavaScript from being run on your machine. Now, JavaScript is a great language. It's so versatile. It can be used in so many different applications. And I've seen some pretty nifty things done with it. Some nice browser add-ons written in it, and even some desktop applications as well. But a lot of people feel that JavaScript is it's almost too versatile to the point where there can even be malicious JavaScript code on websites that you visit that could possibly, write in cookies and do all that kind of stuff, which without your consent, without you even knowing about it. So there are certain security issues that some people have when it comes to JavaScript, and there can be malicious JavaScript scripts, and it can be potentially dangerous to do that. There are also, of course, performance reasons. If you're running particularly an older computer, but to be honest, I've noticed that there have been performance decreases across all kinds of hardware when it comes to loading up websites, not because of their bandwidth or the file size of their assets or anything like that, but because there is just so much JavaScript on the page, much of it unnecessary, just to make the website even look the way that it's supposed to look. And then, of course, particularly on slow machines, but again, I've noticed this across the board, that there are the JavaScript is getting in the way of regular browsing. So you can actually find a bit of a decent performance boost as well. And then, of course, there are privacy reasons surrounding this as well. JavaScript and sort of the tools associated with it, so cookies and all that kind of stuff, are often used by advertisers and sort of information brokers and people that basically mine your information and then sell it on to marketers for a whole lot of money. People, they'll use JavaScript and have it on various different websites in many different forms, sometimes in the form of things like social widgets and bits of hidden code that relay information about your browsing habits back to other companies. So there are reasons to switch off JavaScript, but I have been reconsidering this lately for a number of reasons. The first off being that JavaScript perhaps isn't as malicious as it potentially can be. Okay, so this is a bit of a difficult one to get your head around, but I have actually, and I fix and help people with quite a few people with their computers, and most of these people are not tech savvy people. Most of these people, they don't really know much about what goes on under the hood of their computer. So when I set up their machines, I usually set them up with the usual browser and usual suite of tools, and I usually remove software that they don't need, just to keep the menus clean and to avoid confusion. And I have never on a Linux machine that I've set up for someone has malicious code ever been put onto the machine through the use of JavaScript. Not once. There have been phishing attempts and things like that. There have been potential cases where other websites have been hacked and their JavaScript's been messed around with. But there has never been a case where someone I know's computer has been damaged or broken or malware's been installed just through having JavaScript included and enabled on their browser. The performance boost is great, but there are an awful number of websites that now require JavaScript to display properly. And this saddens me quite a lot, because JavaScript should really only be used when there is an explicit purpose for it. In the same way for anything, like bells and whistles for the sake of bells and whistles is not doing anything but slowing down your system. If something's to be installed or if something's to be placed somewhere, it should be there with a purpose, with a direction. And I often feel that with websites, a lot of websites, that the JavaScript is there for not only just for the aesthetic, but the same aesthetic could be achieved through CSS and creative use of CSS code, which is a lot safer. And since it's designed for one specific purpose, where JavaScript can be used to do just about anything, including layout a website. And there are a number of websites that I've seen that work really, really well JavaScript free, without JavaScript. So I know, so it's obviously possible, and it's obviously like reasonably easy. And of course, this was done before. But I have a feeling that this might be the result of sort of just I don't know, bad theme design, or maybe just that we're in a generation now where hardware is just incredibly fast, that we don't even have to think about efficiency of code on that level anymore. And maybe I'm being a bit of a dinosaur here, and just wanting to go, just to remember those days of when every line of code meant something, and you could run out the memory incredibly easily. But of course nowadays, I guess, much less of a problem, and old habits die hard. But, what you can gain on the performance, then you can lose on having to selectively enable JavaScript on certain sites. UMatrix allows for a distinction between first-party JavaScript code and first-party cookies and then third-party ones. So you can selectively allow first-party cookies or first-party script, which is scripts being executed and run by the specific website you're visiting, rather than any kind of third-party websites that might have their code on that website. For example, something like Google Analytics or advertising software as well. So disabling third-party JavaScript and third-party cookies is a good way to stop at least the advertisers tracking you, and those are probably the people that collect the most amount of information on you. So there are half measures with this, which can allow you to surf the internet reasonably freely, as well with only a minimal number of exceptions, or a small number of exceptions having to be issued. Of course you can surf. Most websites will display correctly if you enable first first-party JavaScript, but then disabling third-party JavaScript prevents all the trackers and your information from going up to companies that you might not want your personal information go through. And of course, it's important to bear in mind that your personal information is incredibly important. It's in a way, it's the very currency that you buy a lot of free services on the internet with. All those free fancy Google services you might be using, they aren't free. You're paying with it. You're just not paying with it with money. You're paying with it with your personal information. And when you're on sort of other websites, when you're on just completely normal websites, you might be reading about something like gardening or stamp collecting or whatever, fishing or whatever, and you might not in any way consent to third-party marketing companies snooping in on your browsing history or whatever. You wouldn't put up for it walking down the high street. So putting up for it online is should be consistent there. So I've covered the sort of the trifecta of reasons why you might want to disable JavaScript, or reasons there at least. Security, performance, and privacy. But I think there is also another question when it comes to, in general, with online privacy, is that the bell can't be unrung and the genie can't be put into the bottle when your information is out there. And that's the important thing to bear in mind. Like, you can't retrieve something from the internet at the expense of it. You know, you can't undox yourself. You can't once your information is out there, your information is out there, and you've sort of lost a lot of control, if not all control over it, which is why it's important to be vigilant. And of course, a lot of it might be very sort of tinfoil hat-esque, but after all, when you go in, when you take a car journey, you put on a seatbelt, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you expect to get in a car crash. So, you take precautions even though you don't expect that they're going to be required, because that's part of making sensible and educated decisions. So I want to throw this back to you guys. Do you browse the internet with JavaScript switched on or off by default? Do you enable first-party JavaScript and first-party cookies, but disable third-party stuff like that as well? Or do you just install a disconnect plugin, or you use like the uBlock Origins malware list and Ghostry and those kind of plugins that allegedly scour the internet for you and provide you with a blacklist that effectively stops malicious code from being run on your machine at all. There are a number of options out there. But one of the things that kind of got me thinking about it all as well is that I don't necessarily like the idea of having to rely on browser plugins for your internet experience, because then you're restricted to only being able to use browsers that accept third-party plugins, which pretty much restricts you to Google Chrome and Firefox, and that kind of knocks a lot of browsers out of the water, kills them dead in the water, which is really unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of talent out there that's going overlooked in regards to good browsers, because I think there are some great browsers out there, but because they don't have the third-party add-on support. And we're seeing things get better. Like, there are live streaming options now, where you can actually watch a live stream without actually, using entirely free and Libra software. If you go to hitbox.tv, the game streaming site, you can go on there on the Epiphany browser and it will stream. It's one of the few gaming streaming websites, or it's one of the very few of any streaming websites that allows you to stream using, that allows you to watch the streams using just about any browser, because it doesn't require any browser plugins. But it can be done if you, if the will is there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the issue. I know it's a bit of a rambly video today, but I thought that I really wanted to do a bit of a vlog, because I've been doing a lot of like app pics, reviews and that kind of stuff, and I kind of want to get a bit more sort of miscellaneous content out on this channel. A few of you have been asking about the podcast for this channel that I was going to do. I'm still working on it, but podcasts are incredibly difficult to set up. I'm currently on doing one with for this season of Game of Thrones with some friends of mine, and just finding an hour where a group of people are all available free every week is just it's incredibly difficult, because especially nowadays, where people my age, we tend to work irregular hours. I don't think I know anyone with a 9-to-5 job these days. So with varied schedules and all that kind of stuff, finding podcasting partners is incredibly difficult, because of course they have to have the knowledge. They have to there has to be the on-air chemistry. I have to sort of I have to know them and be friends with them and know their style of humor and all that kind of stuff. And I'm working on it, but it's taking some time. I've been thinking about different formats and whatnot. But anyway, thank you for bearing with me. If you've made it to the end of this video, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment, but leave a comment with a code word. That code word being what browser are you using? Just slip a name of one of the more well-known browsers into your comment, and then I'll know you've made it all the way to the end of the video. Is it Chromium? Is it Firefox? Is it Pale Moon? Which is a browser I've heard a little bit about over the past couple of years or so, branch of Firefox, or Vivaldi. Some of you guys, of course, know Vivaldi. Anyway, I'm really now rambling on, so I'm going to let you go, but thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I've been Chris Ware, and you've been awesome. Take care now.